I believe in Hashem. I trust in Hashem. There never is a moment when that I am alone and I'm on my own. I believe and I trust in Hashem because I understand that He's holding my hand and every step is perfectly planned. He's holding me tight, so I'll be all right. I believe and I trust in Hashem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nihiyah b'dvaro. Of all the students of the Baal Shem Tov, there was a student who was childless, and he was already not so young. He came to the Baal Shem Tov to beg to be blessed with a child. And finally, the Baal Shem Tov gave him a bracha, that Hashem will give them a son. But the Baal Shem Tov warned them that when the baby will be born, they should guard him and cherish him like the apple of the eye, which means not to leave him alone, not even for a second. Always guard him and watch him. When the baby was born, Baruch Hashem, it was a beautiful little boy. Let's call him Moshele. And the parents followed the instructions of the Baal Shem Tov and never ever left him alone. Even if they had to leave the house, they had a babysitter watching him. When the boy turned 2 years old, the Baal Shem Tov passed away. 3 years later, he was already 5 years old. One day, a man came to town with a bear whom he trained to dance. So all the people of the town came to watch the entertainment. Some people, in appreciation, threw a few coins into a little cup that was there. When the babysitter in the house saw that this man with the beer is so close, she went out to look. It was only after a few moments that she realized that she left the boy alone. She ran quick back in to see the boy, that he's okay. And horror of horrors, she doesn't see him. He's gone. He disappeared. He was missing. She looked all over the house, under the beds, in the closets, in the bathroom, all over. She could not find him. An alarm was raised, and an intensive search began. And wherever people looked, he was nowhere to be found. He vanished completely. The unfortunate and sad father decided to go visit the home of the Baal Shem Tov. And he told the Baal Shem Tov's daughter, Adel, that was her name, Adel, his sad story. So Adel said to him, I don't see anything that I can do for you except for going to my father's kever, where he's buried, and see what we can do. So wait here, and I'll be back soon and tell you. The father sat and said Tehillim, waiting for a miracle to happen, davening, saying Tehillim, hoping that Hashem will return his son back to him, safe and sound. Adel came back with the following instructions. My father said that you should visit every single inn that's on the way and speak to the innkeeper and tell him about your missing son. He'd lost no time, and he started to travel on the road, and every single inn where he passed, he went inside, spoke to the innkeeper, and every one of them, each innkeeper would do the same. They would say, we feel bad for you, we feel sorry for you, we'll pray for you, we'll wish you success to find him. But no one was able to help him. He went from inn to inn to inn, and he did this for many days that turned into weeks and eventually into months. But he did not give up. The Rebbe says something, you don't give up. You have to continue doing what the Rebbe said. One time, he was traveling throughout the whole night. When it came close to the morning, he caught himself falling asleep and suddenly sat up and he says, Baruch Hashem, I almost passed and left this inn on the way. He sees an inn right behind that he passed by. He turned the horse around and went there to enter the inn. Yes, even though he went to so many inns already and got nowhere, so what will be so bad if he skips one inn? But he knew. The Rebbe said, go to every inn, you listen to the Rebbe, you don't skip even one. So he turned the horse and wagon back, stopped off by the inn, covered the horse with a blanket, and went inside. It was already morning, so he davened. After washing his hands, he davened. He was about to order a breakfast when he reminded himself, Oi, the Rebbe told me the purpose of going to the inn is to speak to the innkeeper. I didn't do that yet. Let me do it right now. So he went to the Yiddish innkeeper and told him a sad story. The innkeeper says, it seems to me that your son is really in this town. Really? The father's heart started to beat fast from excitement. He says, listen, there is an old parrot who lives in this town. He has no children. And the Galach told him that if he wants to be sure that he will have a share in Gan Eden, he should steal a Jewish child and bring him up as a guy, and this guy will take him over after he dies, and like this he's guaranteed a place in Gan Eden. And for the past few months, we happened to notice a little boy hanging around by his palace, by this old pirates. As a matter of fact, the innkeeper continued, we heard that today he made an appointment with the bishop to convert the little boy to become a guy. Rahman al-Islam. He made a big party. He invited all the galachim of the town, all the peritzim, and they all came to his palace, and they're only waiting now for the bishop, that's like the chief galach, to come from very, very far to do the ceremony. We know that a yid can never become a guy. You can't take a rock and turn it into an apple. You can't take an orange and turn it into an apple. A yid stays a yid forever. But the Goyim, they think that if they do this and that, they'll change him into a Goy. Chas v'shalom. Hearing that, the father's hopes fell all the way down. Oy, so I will not be able to get my kid back. For 1 minute. His hopes built up again. The Baal Shem Tov said that I should go from inn to inn. He didn't tell it to me for nothing. He said it because I'm going to get my child back. So Hashem is surely going to help me. I have full bitachon in Hashem that I'm going to get my child back. What do you suggest? He asked the innkeeper. Well, knowing this Paritz as a Jew hater, I don't think you have any chance of speaking to him. That will surely not work. What you could do, they say that the bishop has a good heart. He's very kind. So I suggest go back on the road and catch the bishop before he gets here. Before he comes to the Paritz's house. Catch him, tell him your sad story, and maybe he can figure out something to do for you. The father lost no time, no breakfast for sure. He has more important things to do now. And he ran out quickly from the inn and started to travel on the road. He didn't have to go far when suddenly he sees in front of him 3 beautiful horses pulling a big, beautiful white carriage, a wagon. And on the sides were horses with guards on the horses. Looks like someone very special. Probably this is the bishop. And I have to speak to him. So he jumped out of his wagon, threw himself in the pathway of the 3 beautiful white horses, and called out to the bishop, "Honorable bishop, please hear the cries of an unfortunate father." The bishop commanded them to stop and listened to the story of the father. The father told him his tearful story, and the bishop said, "I'm not sure how this will end up, but listen to my advice. I advise you to go to the Paritz's house and stand on the street in front of the gate that goes to his palace and just wait there. That's what I suggest." When the bishop came to the house, the father was already there standing by the gate. The Paritz welcomed him with great honor and respect and brought him in. And he says to the bishop, "I didn't tell you yet why I brought you here. I invited you because I want you to take this boy and turn him into a guy." This boy? Yeah, this Jewish boy. My priest, my Galach, told me that if I do so, I will have a share in the world to come. The bishop suddenly burst out laughing. "Ha, ha, ha! So he fooled you. That's not true. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your effort. That will never happen. You'll never turn him into a guy. You don't know these Jews. They're so attached to each other. It will never, ever work." The Paritz looked completely confused. Then what? Then what? I'll prove it to you. Take a look. Have you been treating him nicely these past few months? Yes. You gave him everything he wanted. You gave him good food, good clothing. You gave him all the attention. Do you think he cares about you? Do you think he loves you? I should hope so. Let's make a test. let's go outside to the street with him, and you'll see that the first Jew that he's going to meet in the street, he's going to run to him as if it's his father. The Paritz did not really believe that that's going to happen, so he agreed to do the test. They both held the boy's hand from each side, and they walk out to the street, and suddenly the boy sees his father. He tore himself away and ran to his father and said, "Tati, Tati," and jumped up to his father, who grabbed him and hugged him and ran quickly to his wagon to escape and run away. The Paritz wanted to chase after him, but the bishop held him back and he says, "What do you need him for? You see that even a total stranger to him, he calls Tati. So what do you think he's going to be dedicated to you? You think he'll consider you his Tati? Forget it. Leave him alone." The father took the boy, quickly started his trip home, speeding as fast as he can. After a long while, the boy fell asleep in the wagon, and the father notices something very, very strange coming towards him on the road. He sees 3 beautiful white horses pulling a beautiful white wagon with guards on horses on each side, and they're coming towards him. The father right away pulled his wagon on the side to let them go by, and he sees the bishop is in there. He rubbed his eyes. Am I dreaming? Is this a vision? What's going on? He was so busy getting home as fast as possible, he didn't bother to spend time figuring out this riddle, what's going on. He just continued on to get away from this place. The bishop continued on, nodding his head to the Yid, and came to the Paritz's palace. When he got there, the Paritz was already half drunk, and they told the Paritz that the Galach, the bishop, returned. So the Paritz comes out and he says, "Oh, my dear honorable bishop, so you probably forgot something here and you came back." "Forgot something, you fool? What could have I forgotten? I didn't forget anything. The reason I'm late is simply because my wagon broke down on the way, and it took a very long time for me to get it repaired. And here I am. So now that I'm here, please, let's get on with the ceremony. Where's the boy?" Paritz looks at him and says, "What? You told me not to deal with these boys. You said Jewish boys, forget it." "What? You're dreaming. I never said that to you." "Oh, come on. You said it to me earlier. So let's just have a party here. You're here already. Let's enjoy." Meanwhile, the father is running, speeding home. But on the way, he decided to stop off by Adel, the daughter of the Baal Shem Tov, to tell her the good news and thank her. When he came to Adel, and he said, "Baruch Hashem, the boy was found." And she shook her head and she said, "Yes, because of your carelessness, not being careful enough, you made my father go through a lot of trouble now to get your boy saved." We can understand what that meant. Who do you think was the first bishop? It wasn't a real bishop. Probably was Malachim that the Baal Shem Tov sent. Well, we see from the story how when the Rebbe says something, you have to follow the Rebbe's instructions. Go from in to in. We are going from day to day, getting closer to Mashiach. We have to know, the Rebbe says it's happening. We know what's happening. We should just do what the Rebbe says. A guten Tag.